So in this episode, I want to share with you a deeply intimate raw experience that happened between me and my husband in one of the intimacy sessions, I should say. And this actually happened for the first time. I had glimpses of that in the past, but it happened for the first time. And I think it's quite amazing that it happened with us, not in like the honeymoon period or whatever, but actually we've been married now for 5 years plus, and we've been together for 7 years, and we have 2 children together. And I wanted to share this with you because I want you to see what's possible. And I'm sure you've heard of these stories. The more you are in a relationship or the deeper you are connected to each other, the better it becomes. And there's a lot of depth and stuff. Of course, you've heard probably more stories about how marriages do not work and how sex stops and intimacy stops, especially after you have children and you've been together for a while and it all dwindles. But I want to share with you an example of my personal life where actually it doesn't dwindle and it becomes better and better. Because I also thought that, right? But because I did my inner work and because I'm connected to my body and because I'm conscious of the feminine-masculine polarity in our marriage and our relationship, the passion continues to be there. I continue to still be attracted to my man the same way that I have been attracted to him in the beginning. So all of that is possible, and I want to share that with you today so that you know that that's possible if you do your inner work. And by the way, if you're interested in how polarity works and all of that, I have this video here that's called Feminine Masculine Polarity that explains why is it important for that attraction like magnets to be and to continue to be present in your relationship and marriage. And if you do this right from the beginning as you're dating, that's why I teach all of my clients in the Claim Group program on how we do this so that we can have a sustainable, long-lasting, passionate relationship. Go to this video now. And if you listen to the podcast, you can type in feminine masculine and search for that episode. Again, just to reiterate, the first layer there is my husband and I really follow that feminine masculine polarity in our dynamic and in our relationship. And that's why I'm still attracted to him. And I can tell you that actually this month, something has been activated between us again. What happens is that I feel that my experience has happened that you go through these levels. You know, there's like this first level when you date, whatever, and the more you are connected with yourself and the more you focus that on polarity between the two of you, of course, it also comes with being with someone who's aligned with who you are, with your values. There's a great match and all that. In the last month, I've been really focused on like sexuality and exploring those things. And, you know, I've written articles before on having a cervical orgasm and knowing what love is. And all of that is with him, right? So a union between the feminine and the masculine or relationship, you know, man and a woman. And, you know, I'm just talking about heterosexual relationships here. But any union, I guess, you know, it's the purpose of it is to really elevate your experience in life and to experience something that you can't experience yourself. So I always say, you know, being with a masculine man is so incredible because he can lead you somewhere where you can't lead yourself. And my experiences with sex and intimacy, the most profound experiences that I've had was with my husband, right? And he's penetrated me so deeply, and I'm talking physically, but also emotionally, energetically, throughout these years that I continue to uncover and blossom. And we all know, well, if you don't know, but, you know, Tantra. I haven't dived into Tantra, but I feel like that's what I'm experiencing at the moment. Tantra talks about that there's no bottom to these levels. You just keep dropping deeper and deeper into pleasure, into union, into connection, into bliss, into orgasm. And it never fucking ends. I don't know, tantric people like orgasm 300 times a day or something. I don't know. So, and I'm not there yet, obviously. So what happened with us, like especially this month, something happened with us energetically. I think we're like so much more connected now. And I feel like there might have been a switch after that. Really interesting now that I'm thinking about this. I've recorded an episode about how String and I have been going through a challenging time together in our relationship where our financial stability wasn't very solid. So we had a conversation about this and something that changed. It was very vulnerable and tender and a pivotal moment in our relationship and in our marriage and in our finances. So check that episode. If you're watching this, I'm going to include a card, hopefully. But if not, we're going to include links in the description. You know, every single situation that is a conflict or that challenges us is actually a learning experience. And there's always a lesson there. And I always say men are your mirrors. And I always say, you know, men are your teachers. So what is this man, let's say if you're dating, teaching you? And so I feel like that conversation that we had with my husband, and actually our sex and our intimate experience started to become deeper and deeper after that conversation, now that I'm thinking about it, because I feel like we have connected on a much deeper level than like kind of day to day, where are the kids, who's dropping, blah, blah. And this is when we talk about the deep connection that you want with a man. And I really felt him and we were on the same page. And together with my desire and my inclination and my discovery and focus on sexuality and what it means and all of that, I feel like that has contributed to it. And so I want to tell you about the specific experience that I've had with my husband in one of those sessions. And obviously it happens to me after I orgasm. The rest of our intimate experience in bed, I felt an out-of-body experience there where the lines between our bodies, the lines between him and I were completely merged. Like I was not me and he was not him, if that makes sense. It was a complete union of these energies, and I felt like I was in a different life, or I felt like I was not even in my body. I can't, like, you see, language is sometimes so limiting. I can't even explain to you what that was. And what I'm talking about is not an orgasm. It's a whole experience that I had during this session. And I don't know, I call it session, sex session. I don't know how long it lasted. And then in the end, I asked him, how did he feel? And he said he felt the same. And he actually said during some of our sessions, he started getting some visions or something, some colors, which is really interesting. And this is all, I believe, I don't know for sure, but if there's some tantrikas or tantri, how do you call a man who's into tantra? Anyways, if anyone here who's really into tantra and this is what's happening, let me know in the comments. But yeah, it was quite interesting. And also, oh my God, I don't even know if I can say this. I'm hoping that during families and watching this, fuck, can I even share this? See, I'm feeling like heart palpitations. Something's happening in my chest. Well, fuck it, you know. This is where we're going. So since we already start talking about sex and stuff, so let's talk about masturbation, ladies. So I've actually I haven't masturbated until I was 24. And I know this might come as a shock to a lot of you, but I just haven't. I've always been with a boyfriend. And, you know, I grew up in a post-communist, post-Soviet republic where sex was taboo. No one was talking about sex. And so I haven't explored myself at all. And when I started having sex, it was just sex and it was somebody else's fingers inside of me. So I never actually touched myself there and never used a toy. So my sexual needs and desires, which were not a lot, by the way, because I wasn't connected to myself and my body. These needs were always satisfied by a man. And so at 24, I broke up with we were almost engaged, 5 year in a relationship. This is where my whole journey of transformation started. So I remember when we broke up and I went to the store and like got a vibrator or something, because obviously I stopped having sex because I was not in a relationship anymore and didn't feel like dating or whatever. And I remember at 24, I had my first clitoral orgasm and I was like, and I did not have it with all of these relationships. Can you imagine? I was like, what the fuck? I think I did have orgasms before with the men that I was with, but it was never a clitoral orgasm because obviously it requires certain stimulation. And maybe I need to unpack this a little bit more, but anyways, yeah. So at 24, yeah, it happened, and I was like, holy shit. I think that everyone has this moment, whether it happens for you with a man. So yeah, that happened at 24, and then obviously I continued to do that, but it was always with a device. First, it was with a vibrator, and then when I discovered this amazing woman, Rosie Reese, shout out to Rosie, who sells crystal dildos and yoni eggs and all of that. I've interviewed her twice on my podcast, by the way. She does naked yoga, and she's the founder of Yoni Pleasure Palace, who sells amazing toys and things. So I switched from vibrators, which I highly, highly recommend, by the way. Vibrators, throw them all away. Get yourself a crystal wand. So I switched to a crystal wand, and then obviously I was already with my husband, but it was still using something to orgasm or whatever. And then last week, ladies, and I told this to my husband, and he was like, It was so good. At 24, I had my first clitoral orgasm, and I by myself, right? Because I was using a vibrator. And then at 34, oh my God, 10 years later, this is ridiculous. 10 years later, I finally had a clitoral orgasm using nothing but my own hands. Wow. With my husband next to me. Wow. This was such an empowering moment for me that after that, something happens. I think all of my sexual chakras opened or something like that. I mean, men are so connected to their sex. Women, not so much because of many different reasons. Not yet, right? But as I stepped on this journey, and this was such an empowerment thing for me, like as soon as I didn't need a device or a man or whatever to like pleasure myself. Well, I know those of you who are listening are like, what? Like you haven't done that? I haven't. It's just my experience, right? But there was something there that just opened me up. And since then, I think it's just transcended it to the next level. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because I think it's actually, I can't remember whether it was in the same night that we have this like transcendental experience with my husband where it was not my body, like our soul, it almost felt like our souls were connected, right? And I didn't even know where I was. And by the way, there was no drugs, there was no alcohol, there was nothing, there was just sex. And then I think in the same week, I discovered this whole thing like, oh my God, I can pleasure myself, right? Without anything. I'm hoping this is useful for you, if not for just entertainment, then for, knowing what's possible. And seeing a real woman tell you these things after 5 years of marriage and 7 years of being together with the same man, having 2 children. And every experience is different, every couple is different. And I know that we've just scratched the surface, honestly. Okay, my husband is 14 years older than me. I believe we have at least 25 years together, at least, before he passes or whatever. I mean, maybe more, but at least 25 years. And I can only imagine, I'm looking forward to what the next 25 years will bring if we continue to go down this path. Because sex is something that continues to give and never expires. And there's just so many layers, and pleasure and sexuality is a domain. People dedicate their lives to it. Like I'm talking about tantra and stuff. I mean, you can experience enlightenment through sex because it's all energy, right? String and I, in that intertwining of our souls in pleasure and sex and whatnot, we have touched that maybe a little bit. So that's what's possible. And if you like this video, let me know in the comments or message me on DMs or something. But both best in the comments if you're watching this. And if you're watching this and you want to know more, I want to send you to a really cool video that I've done about how I discovered my playful slut archetype based on a retreat that I went to. So click on this video to watch that video next. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.